Hello from Dan Plute, the Old Buzzard video. We're bringing you another product review today. This time it will be the Mudbusters full coverage kit for the Can-Am Maverick Trail. In the interest of full disclosure, I'd like everybody to know that I did not pay anything for these. They were actually sourced by another member of the Can-Am Maverick Trail Facebook page and were sent to me so that I could have a look at them and make a little video and do the product review. But I just wanted you to know I don't have any direct affiliation with these folks or anything like that. I'm not beholden to them for anything. So let's unbox them and see what they look like. So here they are. This would be a front right here. They're all pre-drilled and everything, I'm sure, to match all the divots that you've seen around your Maverick Trail. These things are real hard. You know, they're the high molecular weight plastic, I'm sure. I haven't looked at the specs, but these things look like they're going to be rugged. So that's one of the fronts right there. And then these are rear here. So they've got quite the mud flap that sticks out back. In fact, there's some specs here, and let's see if I can get to them real quick. And it says, front flares with max coverage combo kit provide up to 4 inches of additional coverage over the stock front fenders, along with 11 inches of additional coverage above the tires, above the front tires. The rear flares in the max coverage combo kit provide up to 3 inches of additional coverage in the front and middle of the rear tires, tapering up to 4 inches and out the rear. This adds 7 inches of extra coverage over the factory flares. Let's go over and hold them up to the machine and see what they look like. Okay, let's hold the front up here. And in fact, the front's the bigger of the two. It kind of surprised me. I thought this was probably the rear mud flap because it's the biggest, but it's actually the rear. So it goes up right about, let's see, there's the hole that goes into. So they appear that they're going to be a real nice fit. And I hope you can see it like that. I'll get you another shot. But that should reduce the amount of mud that this thing slings by quite a bit. I've got a little wider than normal tires on. These are 10-inch wide. So I do have quite a bit more mud than, you know, the stock tires throw. But this ought to reduce it like crazy. So Mudbusters may be the right name for them. Okay, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see from that angle, but it should be a little closer. And again, right in there, and yep, those screw holes are lined up. So that's about how they're going to fit and how much coverage they're going to give you. Gee, that's going to ruin my fun. This thing will sling mud. It'll sling it forward, and if I'm going 20 or 25 mile an hour, it slings mud up high enough that going 20 miles an hour, I'll sling it up, and then a few seconds later I run into it with my windshield. I always thought that was pretty funny, but yeah, that's not going to happen with these things on. We'll have a look at the rear next. Okay, let's have a look and see how the rears fit on. I was pretty impressed with the front. They were going to go on pretty easy and give me pretty good coverage, but let's look at the back, because a lot of my mud problem is in the rear, getting the taillights covered up, all that sort of thing. So let's have a look at it and see. I would imagine that this first screw hole here is going to line up down there. Yep, all the screw holes seem to line up pretty good. Let's see, what do we got going here? There we go. So, yep, that'll go on just about exactly like that. that. Let me get the screw holes right. I want to make sure I don't misrepresent anything. So, about that far out. About that far out. Right in like that. Of course, it'll be snugged up tighter in the corners and whatnot, but that's generally what she's going to look like right in there. And that ought to be a pretty decent fit too. So it gives some coverage out the back, it extends the sides out a bit more, 2 or 3 inches, and yeah, it'll be interesting to get these on and get it measured up to see if I'll still be able to get through 50-inch gates. And hopefully the hardware maybe is something real easy to take off. So if you know you're going to go through some gates that are real critical and real tight at 50 inches, perhaps they'll be easy enough to take off that for those rides you just take them off and go, and then for when you're on the bigger trails, leave them on. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty impressed so far. Pretty rugged. Looks like installation's going to be real easy. So that's enough until we start the installation. Okay, I took a couple of days off to go ride, and it takes me a couple of days to recover from a trip. We went up in the Colville National Forest up in the very northeastern part of Washington State. Beautiful area. Thanks, Ron Hawkins. I appreciate you hosting the ride up there. It was great, and I look forward to seeing you again. But now let's have a look at the hardware package that comes with the Mudbusters and maximum coverage package, and let's just check it out. So we have an instruction sheet here. Everything seems to be real clear and concise. They have a little sense of humor too. They talk about how much abuse these things can stand, and one of the things they don't want you to do is uproot trees with them. I thought that was kind of funny. So they're very straightforward. You know, pretty much like every picture that I've seen for installations. They're a little bit dark and kind of hard to see, so I might suggest to the company that they also put these online and make sure their exposure is good enough to tell exactly what's going on. In this case, it's not a real big deal because it's pretty obvious when you go fit these flares to the unit. Anyway, they're clear and concise. A page for the front flares and a page for the rears. So the majority of the way they attach is with these push pins. You guys are familiar with those. The ones that Can-Am uses all over the place are a little smaller than this, but it's the same kind of push pin. And they use bolts in several places. Forget the name of this kind of bolt, but it has a real flat head. So we'll see those when they go in, but not a whole lot of bolts and a whole lot of push pins. So there you go. That's what the installation package looks like, or the hardware package rather. And we'll go over and we'll start the installation. Okay, so here's what I've figured out by kind of looking at them and fitting them a little bit. I got a little handful of 1/4-20 bolts. These 1/4-20s fit right through here real easily. There's no way to get a clamp on anything here easily that I've seen. But there's one other thing I want you to notice. Hope you can see that in the camera. There's 2 elongated holes, and the rest of them are just drilled round holes. But these 2 elongated holes, they provide bolts to go there. Another bolt actually goes in the very front. We'll have a look at that, and we'll get that drilled out real soon. But I'm going to use these 1/4-20s just to fit these things up in here. In fact, I'll start on the very bottom. I'll put the bolt through, push the bolt in, and then take another bolt. Let's see, we'll put it through. They don't quite fit through the elongated holes, so we'll put another one there, and another one. Come on, you gotta. There we go. There. So that's basically how the things are going to fit and look right there. Again, we'll have to drill a hole through here, and then you can get where the bolts go here. You can get your hand up in there. So make sure you clean all the mud and whatnot. In fact, I can still feel I've got a little mud up there. But we'll just start with the push pins. And they do make tools that make these things a lot easier to get out. I'm going to buy one of those tools, I think. I'm kind of curious. I think when I know I'm headed for the real tight 50-inch trails, I may have to take these off. I'm going to measure the overall width when I get them installed. But I'm going to install them where this little slot here is out. And initially, I'm not going to push the pin in. I'll just get them fitted here first. And yeah, them buggers are going to be tight. Now, let me get a little Phillips screwdriver. But you can use a screwdriver to make sure that things are centered. So there, I know that's in and it's centered. Yeah, it just wiggled a little again. Perhaps I'll have to push these through first. Now, this is going to be interesting. Can I push that through? The pin is pulled back. Those buggers are tight. Let me tell you, they're going to be tight. No, not quite as tight going through there. So I may go to the bench and put a bunch of these through first. Because I can't. Yep, I'm going to go to the bench, and you know, there's some instructions about this in the book, and it tells you that expect them to be a hard push. But let's see what we can do about this somewhere else. Okay, I'm just guessing this is going to work, but here's my method. I'm going to take the pins, I'm going to slip my needle nose through to the thickness that they are, and then I'm wondering if I stick that down in there, the vise is open an appropriate amount. There we go. So I got one in. Let's just do all the round holes get pins. It's the oblong holes that don't. So again, I'll call it chuck that up. And of course, you got to pay attention to which side you're putting them in. Shiny side down. Yeah, those things are a tight fit. So let's see, we got a few more here. So yeah, there's one more right there. So we're going to chuck that up. Put that in there, make sure it's in the vise right. And we'll turn it around that way. We're still going. What do we need? See, the front one gets a bolt, so I only need one more. One more. Front one gets a bolt, so that one. Yeah, come on, Dan. Get her chucked up in there. There we go. Now we're in. We'll go back over and see if that was the right thing to do or not. Okay, let's see how that worked out. So I think I'll start down here, and yep, they just push right in. That one pushed in, that one pushes in, that one pushed in. See, there's two up here that are supposed to be bolts, and one one pushes in, then the forward one there. Hey, look at that. That fits nice, doesn't it? So, let's see. Yeah, I didn't bring the bolts with me. Oh, and there is a little bit of dust left up there. There, now I got nice smooth surface for the bolts. And I'll go grab the bolts. Okay, so nuts are 11 millimeter. And let's see, there's a couple of washers. And I believe that was a 4 millimeter Allen wrench. So I'm going to go up. So we're going to go up that direction. Where is that hole anyway? There we go. There's one. And gotta find the hole first. There we go. Oh, that helps tip it up at an angle like that. Oh. There we go. So they're both up there. And we want a washer and a nut. And a washer and a nut. Okay, and then wheel. There we go. Just tighten them on down. I'm not going to go real tight at this point, in case when I push pins in, things need to slide around the center a little better. We'll get on that one. Come on. Get on it. Well, it will get on. Oh, it's tipped, that's why. I think those are both snugged down enough now. And maybe a little more. Oh! I'll come back and tighten those up after I drill the holes. So let's push the pins in now. Still got plenty of mud. I didn't wash it as good as I thought I had, I guess. There. Look at that. Okay, so now I have to drill one hole for the very front one. I'm a little nervous about that, to tell you the truth. I'd prefer not having a hole up here. And I don't quite know why they want a bolt there instead of a push pin. It seems, well, would the push pin even... See, it might be a little bit... No? Don't know. Calls for a bolt, I'll put a bolt in it. Stand by. Okay, so I jacked it up and cranked the wheel all the way to the right. My wheels and tires are a little bit bigger than stock, but to get the drill up underneath it, I decided to do that. With the stock tires, you probably don't have to, but this gives you more room to jack it up and get the wheels out of the way. And it depends on how long of a drill and drill motor you have too. But I've kind of changed my mind. I'm not going to drill all the way through. Let's see, is the camera right? I'm not going to drill all the way through here. I just can't bring myself to put a bolt there. So I'm going to see if one of the push pins won't fit. I believe it's a 5/16 drill bit. That's the exact same size the holes are that are pre-drilled in the flares. And it's what's called for to put the bolt through, so it shouldn't hurt a thing to at least just give it a try. We'll see if one of the plastic fasteners work. So we'll get that up there. Oop, make the drill motor go the right way. There, we went through one layer. That's enough for me. Let's see if we can get one of those push pins through it now. See, it could be these are just a tad too long, and that's why they went with a bolt. But yeah, it's hard for me to drill through my machine where it's exposed like that. We'll see what happens. Oh, it went so close to, in fact, hang on, that I'm sure is why they didn't use, let's see, I'll show you this. There, so maybe you can see there's a little gap between the push pin and the flare. I'm sure that's why they chose to use the bolt. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a couple little washers behind it and see if I can get it to work out that way. Again, the instructions call for a bolt in that location. Just to give you an idea, it's all the way up front there. I hope that's visible in the camera, but yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm never one for following instructions. You see, that's the normal pin. Let's see, will that focus that close? You see how it's got a little tip on it that's supposed to guide it into the holes. All that tip does. It has nothing to do with the strength of it. That tip is about as the distance that I was too deep. So I've cut the tip off of it, and let's try it this way. I'm trying everything I can not to drill holes. So, anyway, get my foot around here. Make sure that'll go up in there. There we go. Come on, get in there now. Where'd my little pliers go? Doggone it, I have a hard time keeping stuff. There, it's going, it's going. Let me get my pliers. We'll tap it in a little. Where'd they go, doggone it? Yeah, of course that light's right in the way. There, it's all the way up. Well, I thought I'd tap the pin in. Why won't that silly pin go in? It's all the way up there. There it went. Okay. See, that one's still out of ways. Seat that. See, make sure those are tight. Those are seated. All good. We'll do a final tightening. Again, where'd that dang wrench go? Yeah, I should tighten that one up a little bit. And that one too. So let's have a quick look here at how that came out. Let's see if we can get kind of close in here, and it's a pretty snug fit through all this. I did let a little bit of junk fall in. Yeah, I see some pebbles down there that might be holding the gap open a little bit. But as we go down, Everything looks good to me. I'm happy with this. So yeah, I think that all came out pretty good. So we'll move on to the rear. Okay, so there's a couple of them that seem to be a little problematic. I've got this file stuck in here, so it's pushing up just as hard as I can get it. And then I use the screwdriver to line these up the best I can. Now let's see if the pins will go in. So we'll do the same thing that we had done. The pin wouldn't go all the way in, so it went all the way in. There. Oh, hallelujah, that one went. I can still see it's a little bit crooked in there, but it's definitely not going anywhere. Let's see the very bottom one now. I have to do the same thing. Either that or drill it open a little bit. Yeah, see, it wants to go up. So I don't know if it's Can-Am's tolerance or if it's the Mudbusters tolerance, but this bottom hole here, it puts a little warp in it if I force it to go where it belongs. So I'll just open that bottom hole by about 1/16 of an inch. And yeah, they're definitely not going to go anywhere. And then I've got to pop a few holes back here. Okay, there may be more professional ways to do this, but I have that, I believe it was a 5/16 drill that actually fits through these holes. I'm going to try and lift that hole up just a little bit, elongate it out just a little. As long as you don't drill through the Can-Am plastic, the push pin will still be just as strong as if we hadn't done that. Well, that looks a bit elongated. And now when I stick my Phillips in there, yeah, let's try that. I think that might work. So we just had to elongate it just a little bit. It's no big deal. And yeah, that's going to go right in. And it does snug up. There we go. That one's in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we have to drill 2 holes up here. And yeah, there's no adjustment to be made, so we'll just go ahead and pop those 2 holes in. Let's see if we can get over here on it. I hope this comes out well. I'm not sure how much light I have on everything. So we'll just, come on. That must not be the best bit, I'm here to tell you. Pop 2 holes in. See, hopefully we have 2 more. I never have what I need. Let's go get, let's see, we need 4 more of them. 4 more push pins. Put in there. Those are in nice, that'll do. And then 2 more holes. Let's see if we can change the camera here. Okay, I found a little different drill bit. I hope it operates a little better than the last one. So I wonder if these things are going to take that shape. So, oh, maybe not through the whole thing. There we go. And 2 more for there. So, yep, that looks just fine. And we'll tap it down in. And that one in. You know, I didn't follow their instructions actually. They say drill one, install the pin, then drill the other, which makes perfect sense in case the drill wanders. Then you'll still have a fit. But there, number 2 is. Yeah, look at the junk come up from under there. You can tell I've been out in the mud. Look at that. I like it. Heck yeah. Okay, that went on fine. There were just a couple of little adjustments, and I'm not sure if it's Can-Am's accuracy with their jigs or if it's Mudbusters. But I just had to elongate one little hole just a little bit, and it wasn't a big deal at all. But let's see if we can get a close-up look from the very bottom all the way down here. Yeah, that's sealed up nice and tight. I hope this comes out okay in the video. But everything here, I'm going to trip myself. Of course, I just put a bunch of tools underneath the rig too. But everything fits real tight along there. And I think that's pretty good looking. So let's repeat for the other side. And then we'll take some measurements and see how wide we end up. But looks good to me. Well, I've pushed it outside. We've got both sides done. Let's take a quick walk around it. I still need to measure it, and then I'll do kind of some final comments about it. But this should mud-proof the thing really well. They went on without a whole lot of monkeying around. There were a couple holes that needed to be opened up just a little bit. But it's a pretty easy process, and everything went together just fine. I'm pretty impressed with it. The only problem I'm going to see with it, I think, is that I do ride a lot of 50-inch gates, and I'm not too sure how they're going to do. So I'll measure it up and see where we end up. I wish there was some mud I could go test it in, but this is the wrong time of year for that. 2 weeks ago, or last week when I was up north, I could have found some. We did find some. But that's what she looks like. So anyway, we'll see you in the next segment. Okay, let's find out how wide this thing is. Now, I know this is going to look goofy, but I can't find my plumb bob, and the ends of the square get underneath the tires, so that's not going to work out. But of course, now where's my chalk? I had a piece of chalk, of course. Doggone it. Okay, here we go. Okay, now let's see how wide that puppy is. 58.5 inches, 5'8.5", 58.5. Now let's take a look at the rear. And the rear comes in at 54.5. That's kind of a surprise to me, but that's what the measurements are. So I better write that down before I forget. 54.5 versus 58.5. So what does the old Buzzard think about Mudbusters products? First off, I think they're made of really high quality materials. I could be wrong, but I think they're made out of the same thing that your high molecular weight plastic skid plates are made out of. Obviously, it's quite a bit thinner, but they're a real good quality plastic. I think you'd play hell trying to break them. You'd probably rip them off your machine before you actually broke anything. They are precision cut. Didn't see any problem with the cut on them. That looked good. Now, there was some minor variances in the holes lining up with the stock holes on the Can-Am. Now, I have no idea, what the tolerances are that Can-Am produces with versus what Mudbusters produces with. So I can't blame one company or the other. It was, in the end, it just actually just a couple of holes that I had to relieve just a little bit. It wasn't a big deal at all. I did things just a little bit differently from the directions. They wanted me to bolt the fronts. They wanted me to bolt the front of the fronts on, and I couldn't bring myself to drill all the way through that front fascia or whatever you call it. So I used one of the extra pins that I got from them to do that. I had to trim a little bit of that pin off so that it would go all the way up and in, but it seems to work and it's locked it in real well. I'm not afraid of that at all. I think that's going to be good. The back went on real well. It was one that I had to trim. In fact, there was probably one hole in each of them that I had to relieve a little bit. But all in all, this is going to be a wonderful product for people that are in the mud a lot and don't want to get splashed too terribly much. It will probably keep the mud off of the front and the rear of the machine. I have no doubt about that. I'm a little surprised that it takes the machine out to 58.5 inches wide in the front, and it's only 54.5 in the back. Typically, the back of my machine, and my machine's very stock with no flares or anything on it, typically my machine would get really mudded up bad in the back. It would cover the whole bed of the machine, cover my box. It would cover everything thick, where I just have a little bit of mud problem in the front. So I'm kind of surprised how big they went with the front. But I would bet that if a guy didn't like that, you could probably either buy the next size down, because they make 3 sizes of them for the Maverick Trail. Either buy the next size down, or if you're good with the bandsaw, I'll bet these things would bandsaw down really nice to whatever you wanted them to be. But yes, they appear to be a real high quality product. I ride in some places where 58 inches is not going to get through gates. But the deal for me is that in the summertime, I will probably take them off because that's when I ride the narrower trails. But all winter long, when the mud is heavy and thick, the high trail systems are closed anyway. There's no 50-inch stuff open to me, in the middle of the winter. So I may take them on, put them off, depending on the need and the season. So anyway, that's the old Buzzard's opinion on the Mudbuster product. It's Mud-Busters. You can catch it right here, mud-busters.com at 844-683-3527. You can give them a call. Just type in Mudbusters into Google. We'll find the product too. But I'd advise you that if you really want a set of mud flaps, not just mud flaps, but these replace flares and flaps and all kinds of stuff. So if you add all those things up, that's all pretty expensive. If you go that route, this may be an alternative to adding one product after another. It covers it all. So anyway, that's enough for the old Buzzard. Hope you enjoyed it. Come see us at Can-Am Maverick Trail, the Facebook page. It's the best resource out there for your Maverick Trail. Take care, guys. Old Buzzard out.